A black man who was held at gunpoint by police in Chester, Vermont during a traffic stop has reached a settlement with the town government. This is according to the Valley News in Vermont. So now the Human Rights Commission issued a report that found that the Chester Police Department had illegally discriminated against a black man named Obadiah Jacobs during a traffic stop back in 2019. So now what happened is that there were police that were actually looking for a driver from another town. So apparently there was a different black man that had been driving a car and waving a weapon around and had done so during a road rage incident. So now, according to the commission's report, Sergeant William Frank was just doing his patrols, and he found a black man and said, "That's it. That's the guy. We're going to go get him." So now this happened 3 days after the alleged road rage incident. And so now the officer, of course, traveled behind him, followed him to when Jacobs had voluntarily pulled over, put his lights on, and then ordered Jacobs out of the car. When he was doing that, he had his weapons trained on him for at least a minute. So, oh, look at that. Now, when Jacobs asked, "Hey, what are you stopping me for?" Because there was no traffic violation, for one. So, no traffic violation. And Sergeant Frank told him, "Well, because yesterday, the day before, or whatever, allegedly you waved a gun at somebody, pointed a gun at somebody." So wait, now your response is, "I'm going to point a gun at you." And that's, of course, despite him not actually doing anything wrong, not being combative, following all the commands, etc., etc. Again, all he did was see a black man driving and said, "Well, that's got to be the guy. He's black." Well, that's it. Now, Jacob said, No, this is not true. I didn't do anything. I didn't do this." I mean, again, it's not the same person, not the same car, nothing matched up. But it gets worse. Now, during that traffic stop, Chester Police Chief Rick Cloud then arrived. And the report said that Frank told him that Jacobs was a known player who slings dope. Now, all of this, of course, is without any evidence. There was no basis for any of those claims. So he just pulls over a random black guy with his gun out and then says, "Oh, don't worry, this guy's a player and slings dope." So now, of course, Chester officials had disputed the finding in the Human Rights Commission's investigative report that Frank's actions were based on Jacobs' race. No, he didn't pull him over for race just because he was black. No, he was just doing nothing wrong. So he was black. He was driving while black, and that was it. So now the state investigator looked into this and said, actually, yeah, the Human Rights Commission's report was 100% correct. There was nothing more. There's nothing but racial animus here. In fact, here's the state investigator's report by saying, respondents' argument that the race and color was used only for identification purposes entirely ignores the record in which Sergeant Franks made assumptions about Mr. Jacobs being a drug dealer and a well-known player in Bellows Falls without any evidence. Those stereotypes of African-American men being associated with drugs and criminal activity are exactly the types of stereotypes that motivate one to find reasonable suspicion when it does not exist. So, look, 100%, this is definitely a case of racism. Cop said, well, this guy's black, therefore must be a criminal, and I'm going to find guns and drugs in this guy's car. No, he didn't. They did a search. Jacobs obeyed all commands from the police and was there while they searched his car, didn't find anything illicit, nothing. So now Jacobs weighed in later on, and he said, look, I thought I was going to be arrested or shot. I couldn't believe this was really happening. I didn't know if I had made the wrong move at that point, if I would have a bullet shot at me. It's terrifying. Now understand that this is what black people have to deal with all the time. all the time, being randomly stopped for no reason, being accused of criminal activity or intent without any sort of evidence to back it up. This happens all the time. And oftentimes, unfortunately, they get shot or arrested, resisting arrest, right? When you just question an officer. So now, at least in this case, none of that happened. That's good. And of course, after this had gone through, the town itself decided to apologize. In fact, they said this earlier on the website this month. The town of Chester sincerely apologizes to Mr. Jacobs, recognizing that no arrest or other action was taken as a result of the stop, and that no basis was found during the stop to believe that Mr. Jacobs was engaged in illegal activities. The town of Chester wishes Mr. Jacobs the best in his future endeavors and hopes that he will feel welcome and secure whenever he has occasion to be in Chester in the future. Well, I doubt he's going to feel at all safe in Chester or anywhere else. Again, a lot of Black Americans do not feel safe anywhere around police. This is the only community where parents have to have the talk that doesn't involve sex. Okay? And it concerns police. It blows your mind. They have to sit down with their kids and tell them, so this is what happens. This is what you have to do around cops so they won't kill you. Be respectful, follow instructions, and maybe you won't die. Maybe. So very likely he's going to avoid Chester in the future. And I don't blame him. So now the settlement, in addition to including $50,000 and a public apology, went on to have some other provisions in it. So now those provisions include training that covers implicit bias, as well as best practices for collecting traffic stop data, and as well as something called fair and impartial policing. As far as I know, no punishments for any of the officers involved. So, I don't think this is really going to do a whole lot, honestly. We were promised police reform. Remember that? During and after the George Floyd protests. Oh, don't worry, we're going to reform the police. We're going to reform the police. So now the reform is literally the least that they could do. A lot of people were calling for defund. None of that happened. None of that. In fact, in D.C., they actually literally increased the police budget. There was no reform, no defunding, nothing. And at worst, you have police departments that are still being militarized. And that's, by the way, what we mean by defunding. Stop giving them military equipment. I mean, there's a report about a town in Iowa that literally has a military MRAP combat vehicle that was given to them by the Pentagon. And the Pentagon, of course, has these programs that give this military, this war equipment to police departments. What are they going to need that for? Why do you need an MRAP if you're, a little town in Iowa? What do you need that for? Now, I love their excuse for it. It's for climate change. Climate change. That's what we need, is to protect our people against climate. Really? Is that what's going to happen? Oh, climate change. No, what happens is, and actually this is related to climate change a little bit, they actually do use those vehicles and that military gear to intimidate Native American pipeline protesters. That's what they've been using that equipment for, to help these companies and protect these companies that exacerbate climate change. We're using it for climate change. Yeah, you're using it to help climate change. Not do anything about it. Not only that, but they've also been found to have used these vehicles to try to serve warrants. Come on. So no, I don't think this is nearly enough. As far as to change the nature of policing in Vermont and anywhere else, there needs to be a lot more to happen. But we have seen nothing at the federal level. I think if you want to stop these incidences, you can at least do one simple thing. Get rid of qualified immunity. That's it. I mean, again, there's a lot of other things that you can do, but you can at least start there. Make it so that police officers are liable for their mistakes that could become deadly. Instead of having, of course, the taxpayer always come to end up paying for the actions of racist, terrible police officers like this guy. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.